Well, good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to come out here and present our business plan that we've been working on for the better half of the semester. My name is Julian.
I'm Austin. Alex.
Andrew.
Caden.
And we are all students of the College of Business at Purdue Northwest. We're Dushan's students. Unlike Dushan, we don't possess the talent of long-windedness, so we won't be here forever.
Thank you.
So, basically what we're here to do is present to you guys a business plan or a pitch, if you will, not to change anything, not to change this here, but to kind of help elevate it so more faces can see it, so we can probably get more donors or try to get more grants and just try to get more resources for the students, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's about the students. And all of you guys here today are on the board, so you guys are familiar with what ECIER is all about and what Sharice, kind of envisioned for it. So we just want to let you know that we're on the same page. We understand that ECIER is about the students and providing opportunities, and as well as contributing to their community, probably leaving ECIER and coming back and putting something back in the communities, whether it's just putting something in the communities or putting something good in with their family or just doing something good for themselves. So we just want to let you guys know that we understand that, and we're not going to change anything about the foundation of ECIER. We just want to kind of change how you guys do things going forward as far as social media or promotional stuff or marketing. So with that being said, with helping ECIER, when you go to the doctor, before they help you, for you to check up, you kind of get measured. They take your height, they take your weight, maybe your blood pressure and everything like that. So it's kind of the same thing with businesses, and the very first thing we're going to start off with is the SWOT analysis. So Alex, if you could, take it away.
Hey guys. So for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So the biggest strengths that we identified with the ECIER Foundation is, of course, just the powerful connections that ECIER has made and all the business owners and that are involved in the company or in the organization. And then also, of course, all the scholarships that have been given out even before ECIER was restructured and renamed and all the way up until this point. And then, of course, all the students that we give, that you guys give real world life experience to. And a big part of our presentation is how we're going to be able to use some of those strengths and those things that have already been accomplished and maybe broadcast them a little better and get them out there, so we can go off a base of things that have already been accomplished and maybe through more of an online presence or a presence through social media, so more people are aware of the great things that ECIER has already done. So we're hoping that could build more notoriety for the company, because people are donating to things that they know are well established. So a weakness is, I don't know if I would call it exactly a weakness, but one thing that we kind of thought about is how ECIER is partners with the Gary Scholars Foundation, and I know Teresa talked to us about wanting to expand out of, eventually out of the city of Gary and maybe into other cities and other states even. So our concern was kind of if we expanded out of there, and I know the Gary Scholars does a big part of the scholarships, so if they weren't a part of ECIER in those other cities or towns, would ECIER focus strictly on developing entrepreneurial spirit in kids, or would we also take on a new program to give scholarships ourselves? And I know you guys do give some, but it would definitely involve, in our opinion, building some new relationships, and maybe, because the city of Gary obviously won't be able to provide scholarships in other cities or other major city hubs. So opportunities, kind of broadly, we thought that we seen a study by the Cleveland Bank Institute in 2018, and it said from the 1980s on, African American families on average make 1/5 of the income of white American families. And while that's definitely unfortunate, it just kind of showed us that all around the country there's always going to be opportunities. So as much as ECIER can expand and as much money as they can bring in, there's going to be low-income communities, and there's always going to be kids striving to get out of there and kids looking for a chance to get out. So we do think there's a huge growth opportunity for sure. And then our threats were just as far as the local level, the Gary, I forgot what it's called, the Gary Educational Development Program. Gary Education. I thought I was wrong, but I wasn't. So, they do a lot of the similar things that you guys do as far as like scholarships. They're not exactly the same, but they do offer some similar incentives. And going through them, we've seen that they had a really, and I hesitate to call them a threat because they're aiming for a good cause too, just like ECIER is. And I'm not aware, maybe they've done work with you as well. But we've seen that they had a really powerful website and like a good social media presence on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So we'll also talk a little bit how we could possibly get into some of those things as well. And then one other concern that we had just as a threat would be like, and it might not be relevant, but if the mayor changed in Gary, would it be a threat if a new mayor or a new leadership system didn't want to be as involved, possibly with the scholarship program, or maybe they didn't want to put as much into it as they do now, and would that affect us here? All right, so real quick, I'll go through this service description, and of course you guys know what you offer, and then the workshops and the scholarships. The one thing I wanted to focus a little bit on was the opportunities through the Sage Global. We thought that Sage Global is something that's really cool because it fits almost perfectly with the entrepreneurial spirit that ECIER is trying to promote. And I know when I was back in school, if there was something like this, me and a lot of people I know would have loved it, And especially I couldn't imagine kids in a low-income community having these ideas and thinking that they could never probably do anything with them, or nobody could get them out there and getting a chance to partner and team up with people. And I know the deadline's coming up to register for Sage coming up this year. I think it's in December 14th to get in for 2019. But we definitely will address later on in the presentation how we think that Sage Global could definitely continue to promote it, and we think maybe expand it a little bit so people are more aware that ECIER offers this service as well, and they could do that through here. And then why we included social responsibility in the service description was just when we went to the ECIER event at IUN and hearing the mayor talk and stuff about Gary Scholars, it seemed that you guys definitely wanted to make sure that when people do graduate through the ECIER program, and if they do become successful, that they remember to give back to the community or be a part of it in some way. Don't go out and never come back, and maybe try and help even just one other person. So basically where I'm going from here is just kind of giving you guys an overview of what research we did and what base we started this project off on, and kind of the mindset that we were looking at it from. The last thing I wanted to touch on that we'll talk about is the fundraisers you guys have done in the movie premieres, like the breast cancer fundraiser and the few movie premieres. And we think too that those, especially those movie premieres, through a sort of online presence and a social media presence, we could probably attract even more people to those and get more, whether you're looking for kids to get interested or small-time donors, which we'll talk about. So we think that this is kind of an overview of the studies we've done, and now we're kind of going to get into the plans that we came up with.
Yeah, so as far as talking about Julian said, elevating the operations of the ECIER Foundation, marketing is going to be vital to it. So if you want to deepen the impact and widen the reach of the ECIER Foundation, we're really going to have to invest a lot into marketing. And you're going to have a little bit of a challenge because you've got two primary target markets. That's going to be the students and then donors or partners. So we're talking about students. Who are we looking for? The ECIER Foundation is looking for highly motivated and intelligent students. Students interested in entrepreneurship, two vital things to entrepreneurism is going to have that high motivation and to be intelligent. Also, talk about students who are in low-income areas. And being in the city of Gary right now, we've got a lot of students who fit that category. But specifically, as you move outside of towns of Gary, like into Lake Station or East Chicago, and then maybe into the south side of Chicago and into cities nationally, a big part of the identity of ECIER is offering opportunities to students who may not get those otherwise. So that's going to be who you're looking for in students. And then as far as looking at marketing to donors, what you're looking for are people who are willing and able to donate. That could be wealthy people, it could be people who aren't necessarily incredibly wealthy, but anybody who's willing to get on board with that mission and able to donate, you're going to want to tap those people. But very specifically, you're looking at business owners and entrepreneurs, your entrepreneurship program. So obviously the people who are going to get most on board with this are going to be people who are entrepreneurs or who have had that effect or impact in their lives, and other business owners. So I would say look locally, places like Albany's, or even local lawyers and doctors who run their practices. I mean, they've got a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit and may be interested in investing in the students in your program. All right, so when it comes to marketing strategy, we got 3 super important words. And they're tell the story. Say it with me. Tell the story. I'm convinced. Great. You guys get it. You got to tell the story. The ECIER Foundation is making big impacts in students' lives. And when those impacts happen, they create amazing stories. And people want to hear those stories. When students and donors alike hear what's going on in the ECIER Foundation and how lives have been impacted, they're going to want to be involved. So when we're talking about students, you've got to make ECIER a place that students want to be. And I think a lot of students do want to be there, and it's a fun and exciting place, but you got to get that word out to them, and then when they know, they'll want to be a part of it. So the students, they're proud to be a part of it, and you got to make it so that people who aren't in ECIER want to be a part of it. So as a, go back. Just a second. So you're competing with other extracurricular activities, so the basketball team, music, other after-school clubs. They all offer some opportunities to students, and they offer a lot of fun. So as you're able to up that hype and the fun level, take pictures and put them on Instagram and videos and put them on Snapchat. That's where the students are looking, and you're able to communicate to students that way outside of the program. And then as the students are having fun, and going to see Michelle Obama and go on field trips and things, they're going to tell their friends about it and bring them in. And when they get a scholarship, they're going to tell their friends about it. So you got to leverage your students, and then leverage those social media outlets for students. And then we talk about our donors in the community. You got to tap your personal networks, and that's going to be a huge thing for the ECIER Foundation. And when you're telling your stories, an entrepreneurial program board, I'm guessing most of you have a big network, and you're highly connected people. And there's no more important thing or effective way to market it than to tell the people around you, what impacts the ECIER Foundation has had on these students, and you've seen it firsthand, and then tell them the impact that the students have had on your life, and that's going to really resonate with people. So like I said, tell the story. You're going to leverage video and social media. So with those stories, we talk about marketing, like the 5 P's of marketing are price, product, promotion, and all of those. What's the product that the ECIER Foundation has that's most valuable is the stories of what happens in the lives of the students. So we actually made a little video to kind of give you an example. So just super short, very simple video. Caden actually put that together pretty quickly just on Sunday morning. Put the music, put the videos, that question, don't you believe, and the her smile on the face. That kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, and now super simple to do. And so if you're able to take those videos or those stories and leverage that, put it on social media, sponsor an event and play that at the beginning, something in the community, that's going to be huge for you to kind of use that emotional tug with the people you're marketing to, looking for donors and looking to get people in.
So Andrew kind of talked about the marketing strategy. I'm going to talk more about promotions and how specifically we're going to get ECIER's name out there. The first thing I wanted to talk about that Andrew kind of touched on already is the social media strategy. So we're looking to attract students and donors, 2 different strategies in our opinion. I'll go over donors first. So basically, given the target market age range, anyone post high school probably until 60, 65 plus, going to be using Facebook mostly. So we're trying to attract donors from using Facebook. The Facebook business tool allows you to basically, with any budget, target a specific age, geographic location, race, basically any demographic you're looking for. So you can place ads on Facebook for fairly cheap. It'll show up on the feeds of potential donors, given the different target market. And then social media for students. Students mainly use Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. 95% of students have a cell phone or are able to see social media on the internet. So Instagram we want to use for events, kind of take pictures of events. We can put videos on there to kind of highlight specific events that we have. Snapchat would be more of a day-to-day, so like just day-to-day operations. Like if you're out at a workshop or something, you take videos. To kind of get the students involved and excited about it. And then Twitter, probably not utilized as much, but you can tweet at donors or other powerful organizations to kind of bring that network together. So we're thinking that so much for social media. Next, I want to focus on the website. So for us, it seems like the website's outdated, and we want to connect the website with the social media platforms, so they're all interconnected. So if I go on the ECIER website, there's a link right at the top. You can see Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. So and then if you go on Facebook, same thing. There's a link to the website, Twitter, and all the other different social media platforms. But one thing we did notice too is that we think there should be a donate button at the top, and I know there's a link to the donate. It just has a phone number and email, but if you created more of a checkout situation to where they could run their credit card through, and I think something Kane's gonna touch on later, maybe some form of renewal system. There's a lot of the Boys and Girls Club and other programs like that. They have something where it renews every month, so you could get more consistent donations in that way. Let's see real quick. One more thing here. Oh, that's what it was. So, also, I think the last thing too for the website is when I type in Gary scholarships or high school student scholarships, Gary, or Gary entrepreneurial opportunities, ECIER doesn't come up on a Google search. So you could use the Google keyword, a Google AdWord platform, and bid on these keywords so that when I type in those searches, ECIER will pop up at the top and even get donors more involved too. Thirdly, the special events. I know Julian kind of talked about this. You want to touch on this a little bit?
Well, a big key is, like I said, getting the community together. So a way that we can do that is implementing maybe cookouts or donation car washes, because those things are low cost, but they're effective. A donation car wash could easily bring in an extra $500 to $1,000, and maybe wouldn't cost more than $50 to $75 to start. And that could not only bring in money, but also bring in opportunities to network, opportunities for people to learn about the ECIER program.
Awesome. And then the fourth one in my mind, I think, is the most important, and that could help elevate ECIER the most. We kind of put together some form of donation incentive plan. So if I'm a donor and I'm giving money to the ECIER Foundation, like if I give $200, give them a t-shirt. We looked at more of traditional marketing techniques of a billboard, but we think that t-shirts and apparel and have people walking around, basically a walking billboard with the ECIER Foundation name, could go a lot further and reach a lot more people than actually having a billboard per se. So if if someone donates $200 and send them a free ECIER t-shirt, or even if let's just throw a number out there, $700, $800, $1,000, maybe have them as a honorary donor at maybe one of the workshops or events, so that they can see further the mission, but also make them feel appreciated by the ECIER Foundation, that they recognize that where their money is going, and so they can see it. And then lastly, I think one of the best competitive advantages ECIER has over other foundations or people doing the same things is the SAGE competition, and just same thing, just highlighting the SAGE on the website, because if you go on there, I can't see that ECIER does that really unless you dig pretty deep. So highlight that on social media. The kids are out in the national competition in California like they were last year. that you could, you know, take Snapchat videos of them and like let their other fellow students kind of see what's going on with that. But I definitely think highlighting Sage and the global competition is very important to promoting ECIER.
Yeah, okay, so Austin kind of touched on this a little bit, but one of the things we were thinking that would really work with getting more donations is a renewal system. So essentially you think of Netflix or Hulu, you sign up for a subscription, and it renews every month, I believe. But this renewal system would give you the option to choose how much you would want to donate and how often it would cycle. So for instance, I would want to donate $5 every week. So every week it would send you an email saying, confirming, you know, that we're going to renew this donation, or you know, somebody could give $100 once. So it gives you the option of either donating once or donating on a cycle, similar to that of Netflix or Hulu. And then, you know, as he was saying, incentives and rewards. So sending out emails, giving out T-shirts based on how much donations come in. Just kind of, you know, promoting the name and showing what we do, and kind of giving insight on how we're doing as a foundation. And then also grants. We think that 30% of our annual funding should come from grants. I don't know how much you guys are getting right now from grants, but there are a lot of opportunities to get potential grants, and that it's basically just free money, no strings attached.
We listed some of those in the business.
Yeah, they're in the business plan. I think there's 3 or 4 different options, but you know. And then these are some of the milestones. I know when we met with Charisse a couple times, she was talking about potential expansion into different places in the country. So we listed 4 different milestones here. And honestly, we really do think these are accomplishable. But I think we really need to focus on Gary first and kind of building that reputable name as a foundation first before we can move on to these other places. But the potential is definitely there, because Gary's obviously not the only place, low-income place that needs help. So there are definitely opportunities in Chicago, Indianapolis, and then you were talking about Portland, perhaps. Yeah. So you know, there's a lot of opportunities. So those are the kind of milestones. That's in the business plan as well. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, guys, thank you once again for having us out and presenting our business plan to you. Once again, my name is Julian.
Austin.
Alex, Andrew.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.